Hey guys, Jay here with Word of Advice TV, and in this video I'll be showing you how to install a portable air conditioner on a slide door. The reason I really like Dreo air conditioners is because they all have a drain-free design, which means you don't have to run a drain line, there's no hose behind it, you don't have to empty a bucket twice a day or anything like that. The fan inside of it evaporates the water that it collects, which makes things super convenient. But in the accessory box, if we open it up, the first thing that looks at you is a drain hose. And let me explain why that is. So even though this thing does evaporate the water it collects, you can put it into dry mode, meaning if you want it to act more like a dehumidifier and pull as much moisture as you can out of the house, you can take this plug out right here and hook up your hose to use this unit much like you would use a regular dehumidifier or other portable air conditioners. So if you live in an area that has high humidity, then maybe this would be an option you do want to use. So just so you know, this is an option. You can hook up a hose and actually drain it the traditional style, but you don't have to. If you run it in the normal mode, you don't have to hook up any hoses, you don't have to drain any water. And it also has a water sensor inside of it. So if for some reason the water is backing up, there won't be any leaks because that water sensor will shut that compressor off so nothing starts to go overboard. And while we're looking at the back of the unit, I might as well show you where the filters are and how to take them out. There's one on top right here, and there's one on the bottom. Taking them out is super easy. You just pull up right here for the top one, and it pops right out. If you're planning on using your air conditioner regularly, almost daily, you should wash this filter or vacuum it at least about every month or every other month. Putting it back in is super simple. Just put the top in first and snap everything back in place. And the bottom one comes out very similarly, just like that. But anyway, let's begin the installation. And one very important thing to note before we begin is if for some reason you had the box with the air conditioner laying on its side, definitely make sure that you keep the air conditioner upright for at least 6 hours. Best a whole day, 24 hours, in the upright position before you turn it on. If you turn it on after it's been laying on its side or on its back, that might wreck the compressor right when you turn the unit on. This was everything that was inside the box besides the air conditioner itself, and my favorite part was actually the install manual. The manual right here and the quick start guide. Usually when you get a dehumidifier or some air conditioner, the instructions that come with it are pretty terrible for the most case. There's some grammatical errors and it's not very clean. It's not clear instructions. They did a really good job. Dreo really got their stuff together. This looks really nice. Everything's organized. There's no errors. There's pictures for everything. Everything is nice and outlined. I looked through the manual and I was really impressed. Compared to all the other manuals I see, they designed their manuals. The layout is just perfect. By the way, if we look at the top of the unit, this is a fun little addition they did. It's a magnetic holder for the remote, so it doesn't slide off if you're moving it around. I thought that was pretty neat. The installation of a portable air conditioner is really straightforward. The hardest part is just installing these panels. In the window, this would be pretty easy, but when you have a slide door, this becomes a little bit of a challenge. Because most portable air conditioners, the window kit that they give you, it's not long enough to fit into the slide door. And many people start to really get stressed out about this, but it's not that big of an issue, and I'll show you why in a little bit. The first thing that I like to do is to measure approximately where I want my outlet hose to go. So here is where it starts. It's gonna go about right here. I like to, as much as possible, I like to keep this short. I don't wanna spread it out. The less bends you have, the shorter this run is, the better. So personally, I like to just keep it as condensed as possible. And if you keep this outlet lower, that really helps with that. For example, if I put it up here, that means I would have to stretch this hose and it's gonna have 2 bends in it. So if I'm gonna put the panel with the opening on the bottom here like this butterfly bolt that we have here is not gonna be needed there. So let's take that off and transfer it over to the top instead so we can connect to other panels. Here's what it looks like on the back. Okay. As for the rest of the extension panels, it doesn't really matter which order they go in. You just have to make sure that the grooves line up with the butterfly bolts. So I'm gonna put the small one in first, and then put this one in next, and then put the grooved one in again at the top. So let's do that quick. Since we're doing this for a slide door, we want this as extended as possible. Once I get it there, I just tighten it down all the way, and that should not go anywhere. So everything was going really good until we ran out of panels. So as you can see, there's a gap missing here. And it would be nice if they provided extra panels or if they sold extra panels that you can buy, but most portable air conditioner manufacturers don't do that. So we have to figure out what to fill this gap with. And it's not that big of a deal. You can use anything like plywood, plexiglass, foam, plastic, just anything you can get your hands on. There's no need to be stressed about it. The main point is to seal up the gap the best you can. But if you want the easy way out and something that looks nice, another great option is to simply order a universal kit on Amazon, which fits just about any slide doors. It's all the way up to 90 inches. And the best thing about this kit is that it fits just about all the brands out there. I'll leave an Amazon link to this in the video description. Unfortunately, I did not order this kit, so let's get back to my installation. Okay, so once we close the door, what we do have looks really nice. So I just need to add a piece of something right in here. The kit that Dreo provided, I was able to stretch it out to 57.5 inches. I'm sure if I stretch it just a little more, I can get to 58, but of course that's not gonna help me because I need about 77.5. What I'm thinking I'm gonna do for this install is just take a piece of foam board and put it on the top right here and either put some screws in it or just tape it onto this one, and that should seal the gap nice and good. Okay, so I went scavenging and I did not find any usable foam, but what I found instead was a piece of nice cardboard. It's white. Really, like I said earlier, you can use anything, but some things are more cosmetically appealing than others. Like some people will like a piece of plexiglass because it's see-through, and of course a piece of plywood would look the worst. Cardboard is not good insulation material, but as a temporary measure, I'm gonna go ahead and just tape this piece on, and that should be good for the time being until I can throw in a piece of foam. So with it fully assembled, here's what the finished result looks like, and it actually turned out pretty good, even with the cardboard. The unit came with a bunch of weather stripping, and this adhesive stuff, it works great on windows, but I think for the slide door, this non-adhesive foam is gonna work the best. I can put it into the grooves, and the panels are gonna be able to go right inside of it, and it's actually gonna help it hold the panels in place as well. So this should work great. Instead of measuring it with a tape measure, I like to just put the foam right in and measure it that way. Simply cut off the piece in the bottom. Actually, you know what? I'm not even gonna cut it off. This fits perfectly. Nice. And of course, for the slide door itself, there's no grooves, so I can't just place this in here. It's gonna keep falling down. But at the same time, I don't really wanna use that adhesive weather stripping because it's super sticky. If I ever have to take it off, there's gonna be a bunch of chunks of that stuff on here. So I think what I'm gonna do is just put a few bits of tape, maybe one here, one in the middle, and one on the bottom, and that should be plenty to hold this on here until I close the doors and squish those panels in. And that's what the finished result looks like. And to be honest, guys, I could have probably made this a lot more pristine looking, but I wanted to keep it real. For those of you out there that just want to get the air conditioner installed, it's hot, it's miserable, you just want to get it done. You don't have to do everything to the book looking all nice and pretty. You can use some cardboard, you can use some tape, it's okay. You don't have to use screws and only the factory-made panels. I had just enough of this foam for the sides, which is wonderful. I don't have enough for the top and bottom. So I'll just put this piece here. This might be enough for the bottom, but there's nothing in the top. And just so you know, if there's a little bit of a gap, if there's some cracks, that's totally okay. you're gonna lose some efficiency, but it's gonna be very minor. And honestly, these single hose portable air conditioners, they're not that efficient anyway, so just a little bit of a crack on the side, that's not a big deal. So just try to seal it up the best you can, and if there's a little bit of a gap at the end, that's totally okay. So here's what the finished result looks like. I think it turned out pretty good. Once you're done with the paneling and the weather stripping, if you want to be able to continue using your slide door, and every time you open it, you don't want the panels to just go flopping down, you could simply use some Scotch tape or even some Velcro strips to secure the top piece, whatever material it's made out of, to the top of the frame here. And that way, every time you open the door, it's not going to go toppling down on you. I just used a little bit of Scotch tape, and as you can see, it's holding it nice and good. Once I open the door, nothing comes falling, and I can continue to open and close it with no issues. And while we're talking about opening and closing the door, if you plan to keep the door closed, or simply when you're not home, a good way to secure the door is to just put some kind of a rod on the bottom groove here, where the door slides open, to keep the door nice and securely closed while you're away. I got this adjustable rod on Amazon, but you could also use just a piece of wood or a piece of pipe to close the door. And the last thing we need to do is to simply attach our hose. This part they make super easy. You literally just push it in. It also helps if you open the door and support the panel in the back as you're pushing it in. That way nothing comes flying out. There you go. Once it's fully snapped in, you can go ahead and close the door back up and attach the hose to the air conditioner itself. Okay, now that we have it fully hooked up, I just want to fire it up and test it, see how well it works. This is a master bedroom that we're in right now, so I think I'm gonna fire it up and see how long it'll take to drop, let's say, 3 degrees. I'm gonna go ahead and put my temperature probe on the other side of the room here, on the headboard of the bed. And right now we're at about 81 degrees. Let's see how fast this air conditioner is gonna start to cool off this room. And right when the air conditioner turns on, I'm also going to turn on my stopwatch to see approximately how long it's going to take us. And while we're waiting for the room to cool off, I'm going to check how loud this unit is. So right now what it's measuring is how loud I'm talking. So it's around 80 decibels. So if I be quiet, let's see what that looks like. So I would say it's about 57 decibels, and I'm about 3 feet away from the unit. That's pretty quiet considering that I'm standing right next to the unit. If I was 10 or 12 feet away, then it would get a lot closer to the advertised 46 decibels. In comparison, a vacuum, for example, usually runs at about 70 decibels. This unit is loaded with a bunch of features, and the manual does a really good job of thoroughly explaining how everything works. But if you have kids, I bet your favorite feature is going to be this child lock button right here. So if we press and hold this for 5 seconds, once the lock is set, none of the buttons on the unit will work. I also have good news for those of you that like to control everything from your phone. Besides being able to operate the unit using the buttons on the unit itself and the remote, you can also download the Dreo app, which will allow you to control your air conditioner from your phone. Okay, let's check back on our temperature. We're 9 minutes and 30 seconds in, and we're already down to 76 degrees. So it's cooling the room down really quick. I'm gonna let it run for a while longer and see how much lower we can go. Okay, it's been about 26 minutes now, and we're all the way down to 73 degrees. From this, we can see that it's definitely doing its job. Well guys, and that is all I had for you today. I hope you found this video helpful. If you have any other questions, please let me know what they are in the comments below. Yesterday, I went to the store and I had the slowest, meanest cashier that I have ever had. I guess that's what I get for using the self-checkout.